trust in themselves, to believe in their knowledge. They are capable and they can make their dream of becoming a healthcare worker come true. Trust in yourself.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to MDF Instruments Crafting Wellness Podcast.
My name is Dr. Daniela Coronado. My background is from South America, from Venezuela. I'm currently doing my rotation on internal medicine.
Dr. Coronado, can you tell us a little bit about where are you in the world right now? Are you in South America? Are you in the States? Where are you?
I'm in my country, in Venezuela, working. I also study here.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you wanted to become a doctor? Is it something you always knew you wanted to do? Can you talk a little bit about why you decided to become a doctor?
I've always had this connection with healthcare and medicine because when I was like 6 years old, I remember always watching on TV Grey's Anatomy and Doctor House. I love both of the shows growing up. And there are many seasons. Basically, I grew up with all the seasons. When I had to choose what I wanted to study when I was on my last 2 years of high school, I've always had a big interest on medicine. So I got into college. I started the experience. I realized I always liked to understand how the human body works and how everything is so complex but works so perfectly. So I was always very interested understanding human physiology. When I was on my first year of medical school, because in here it takes 6 years, you study 3 years that are preclinical, and then you take your last 3 years that are your clinical rotations. When I was finishing my first year, finishing studying neuroanatomy, I discovered it was my passion. And then when I started my clinical rotations in internal medicine, I understood why. I love how the body can be so fascinating, complex, but with our knowledge, we can help others not only to diagnose, but to help and transform their lives, their quality of life. That for me was like my moment. I knew it was my path for life when I was on third year of medical school.
Okay, so just
It
and you're there in Venezuela, you go to medical school for 6 years, is that right? And then on to
it
residency?
yes, in here you take 6 years of medical school, and then you can start. You have to work, and then you get to your specialization. You choose what you want to do. If you want to do internal medicine, gene op, surgery, orthopedics, you choose.
I see. And what was it that drove you specifically to internal medicine? And can you also talk a little bit about the difference? There might be people listening and watching who don't really know what internal medicine is. So can you kind of just walk us through that specialty and what it is you do and how you treat patients as an internal medicine doctor?
That's right, Brooke. Sometimes people don't know what does internal medicine do. I believe that it is one of the most whole medical fields because you get to follow the patient, you diagnose and follow their medical evolution. And you get to see how they can get better, how they can evolve, and you have that warmth and medical relationship with your patient. You get to diagnose many diseases. It is very broad. It is wide in comparison to other fields where the pathologies you see in day by day are like more limited or more frequent. In here, you can see cardiovascular, renal, endocrine, neurology. You manage all of those sub specialties, and I love it. I love that you can manage many pathologies because you can see the correlation with how one organ or one system can make the impact in the other system.
Amazing. So are you primarily caring for adults at this time, or do you also see pediatrics?
One of the things that internal medicine takes care of adults, but also in here in teens from 14 years old to 80, 90 years old. And that's what I say, that we have like the bigger picture.
I see. So it's a really vast age range that you're treating.
You treat from a very young age to people in their elderly years.
What is something with what you do? Can you talk a little bit about your day-to-day life? Because here in the US, I don't want to misspeak, but I think a lot of doctors they'll if they're working in the hospital or something like that, it's a lot of like three days on, 3 days off. Can you talk about your schedule there? Are you working 5 days a week? Are your hours night shift, day shift? Are you kind of, I know you're in residency.
Well, in here it's you work from Monday to Friday, 5 days a week. And usually in the morning, my day starts very early. I wake up, get ready, get my bag ready, my white coat, drink my coffee, get to the hospital, do the pre-round with my co-residents. The specialist comes and we do the round. After that, we review lab results, imaging, MRIs, adjust treatments, and we we see the evolution of the patients during the week. We have on the floor we're working on, and also I'm on call. It can be every 5 or every 6 days. It depends. Currently, I'm on call every 5 days. It's day and night shift.
How long is residency there in Venezuela?
Clinical takes 3 years. Takes 3 years.
And then what happens after that? After you complete your 3 years, what's next?
You complete your residency, you become an specialist. Then you are a specialist and you can choose if you want to go for cardiology, for endocrinology, nephrology. You can choose where you can go, or you can stay there as an internal medicine doctor.
And for you, do you anticipate staying with internal medicine, or do you think in a couple years, because I know you're in year 1 right now, do you think you might branch out?
I started studying many years ago. I've always loved two systems are like my top. And those systems, a cardiovascular system is related to cardiology, and nervous system is related to neurology. I love those two fields, and I can choose any of them.
Is anyone else in your family in the medical field at all?
I have cousins that are also doctors and are following similar paths. I have uncles that were surgeons, but my parents are a teacher and a lawyer.
I'm curious in Venezuela there because your English is so spoken so well. Do you learn English there, or is that something that's normal over there in Venezuela where you're taught English?
I always studied it since I was in preschool. In the school I studied, we took since we were 5 years old, 6 years old, until we graduated from high school. But I learned it because I was at an English school in another city where I studied it since I was 11 years old till I was 15, 16. And then I also took French. And also, it is very helpful because, as doctors, all the articles and actualizations that come, the guidelines always are in English. I always love languages. it's a passion besides medicine too.
We have a lot of telemedicine. So a lot of times, older people or maybe people who are, having a chronic illness or are kind of far from a clinic or maybe don't have a car, they use telemedicine over the internet to talk to doctors to figure out what's going on with them for care. Is that something you also do there in Venezuela?
At the moment, I'm not doing it, but I can consider it making it in the future.
Yeah, I think especially since you speak three languages, if you include French, I think that is also a major asset for telemedicine.
To help more people.
And so I'm curious a little bit with social media platform. You definitely love to show the journey of where you have gone, how far you've come, and a little bit about your day-to-day life. Do you find that to be inspiring others? Are you mentoring other people?
Yes, well, it was very surprising for me when I graduated. I've always lived in the same town since I was little. I studied my high school here and also college here. And many people, when they were going to congratulate me and say, "Hey, I'm so happy that you became a doctor," many people said to me that they were inspired, that they wanted to study, they wanted to become a doctor like me. And I believe that is very fulfilling as a doctor, and not as a doctor, but also as a human, to know that you are inspiring others. And yes, I like to be very active on social media. I'm always posting stories on Instagram, and also I try to post little videos on TikTok on my day to day, what I do, what I'm working on, and also it's a great way to stay in contact, stay in touch with some people that have studied with me but are now in other cities and also in other countries. Some of my classmates are living in other countries in South America, in Europe, others live here but in other cities. So it's a way to stay in touch with people you know and also people that don't know you but can be inspired by what you do day by day.
Yes, I love that. I do have a question because, you know, here in the United States, I've spoken with several, anyone from doctors, med students to people in residency to very established in the career, and also physicians associates, nurse practitioners, that have a really good, scope on autonomy as far as treatment of a patient. And I'm just curious if you've ever had any kind of negativity pursuing a career in medicine and becoming a doctor, if you've ever had any pushback of people telling you like you couldn't do it. For doctors, I had someone on the podcast. I think she was 25 and became a doctor here in the US, and she had a really quick paced way of going through it, and she was very smart obviously, and she had a lot of kind of naysayers and pushback because she looks so young. She is so young, and sometimes it can be challenging. And something she was really talking about was kind of breaking through that box of, you can still be feminine because she likes our pink glitter stethoscope and she likes pink a lot. So she was saying, I can still write with a pink pen and have my pink stethoscope.
Yeah, glitter, stethoscope.
Yeah. And so I was just curious there in your country in Venezuela and just your experience. Can you kind of speak on to what that's been like, or if there has been any kind of things, obstacles you've had to overcome for any reasons like that?
Well, here in South America and also in my country, you are allowed wear colorful stuff, pink, purple, what you prefer, sparkles, glitter, and also be a very prepared and smart doctor. Here we as women have a big field in medicine. Also, you can see in a group of 10 doctors, 8 or 7 are women.
That's great.
Yeah,
I love
girl power.
it.
In here, everyone loved my glitter stethoscope. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful! It shines."
Yeah, you were really good at showing off how glittery it is because, that.
Everyone was in love.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. So, if you could go back and give your younger self a piece of advice or tell yourself something you've learned through your life experiences, it doesn't necessarily have to be medical related, but any kind of like piece of advice that you would want to kind of put out into the world.
Looking back in the day and talking to a younger version of me, maybe a 6-year-old me or a teenage version of me, I will say, not only to me, but to anyone who is listening right now, believe in your dreams, because when a dream is planted on your heart, it means you can, what you can dream, you can become. If you have the discipline, the determination, you study and make efforts day by day, it will become true if you work for it. You work for it even when you're tired, you work for it and study, prepare to get better. That dream will inevitably become true.
If you have something in your heart that tells you, and
That you can follow the path.
yes, then you just have to make sure you put the effort in to when the opportunity presents itself that you're ready and work hard and keep that dream in sight. And I believe with some determination and perseverance, you can you can do anything you want to do.
Drive and passion.
That's it. Do you have any tips or tricks or anything that you really relied on when you were going through medical school?
Well, at first, when you start, maybe you don't know where to start or how to study, what is the right method for you. But in my case, I always prepared the day before I took the class. I tried to do a brief review of, of the subject we were going to study to have notions. You don't have to know the subject 100%, but if you have some notion, when the teacher is talking, you will understand more. I started not with having the pressure of, oh, I'm going to take a quiz or I have a lecture, but estar in contact constantly, not letting a pile of things to study accumulate.
I think you're speaking on consistency, which is a really big thing for me because, sometimes in
It's hard,
yeah, sometimes you don't have right? Like sometimes you don't have hours upon hours on end, but you have, you know, a certain amount of time every day you can dedicate. Like, for example, exercising. You might not have 2 hours every day to go to the gym, but you have
but
50
you have 20 minutes
minutes,
to
20.
stretch.
Exactly. And if you do 20 minutes every single day, then you are consistently staying healthier than you would if you did nothing. And so I think consistency is the key. It's not about being perfect. It's not about having all the answers. It's about,
But doing a small progress every day is better than not than doing nothing
and you'll get,
or waiting for it to be perfect.
yes.
I read last year, the book Atomic Habits.
Yes.
Yes, it changed my mindset last year.
That's a great book.
Recommend it to the people who are listening and haven't read it. It's a good book that can help you manage your organization better.
You talked a little bit about putting on your white coat, and for us too, a big symbol of medicine has always been a stethoscope because it's one of the first pieces of medical equipment that you receive that will help you on your journey of helping patients understand their blood pressure, understand their heart, understand their health. The very first time you got a stethoscope and you put it around your neck.
I have a very fun story time about that because when I was around 7 years old, I told my mom, Mom, I want a toy stethoscope. Those toys that come with many other things. Because I had one, but I lost it. And I wanted another that is plastic to play because I was a 7-year-old. So my mom told me, I'm not buying you a toy. I'm going to buy you We're going to the store and we're going to buy a real one. A real one. It was a very basic one, but she bought me one great. It was great. I still have it in my room. A gray stethoscope to me, a little girl, a little 7 year old. And I remember playing with my family, listening to their hearts, listening to my grandma's heart. And that was my very first stethoscope. And also, I used it on my very first clinical practices.
That is really special. I
Yeah,
see you light up when you talk about it, and what a smart, wonderful mother you have to get
yeah.
your stethoscope.
She's
Like,
a smart woman. I
yeah,
got it from her.
yeah, she was manifesting this for you. You know, she could see even then.
In advance. In advance, yes.
Yeah, that's
She
so.
knew. She knew.
She knew. Yeah, and moms always do. They always know.
Moms always know best.
Love to hear a little bit outside of medicine. Kind of what do you like to do for fun? Are you into cooking, exploring, hiking? Like, what is your day-to-day life when you're not working and obviously not being in medical school anymore? Can you talk about like what you just like to do for fun and maybe some hobbies or interests you have?
Well, you know that sometimes when you're a student, you have less time. But after some years, I found how to manage my time better and have time for the things I like to do and my hobbies. I always like reading. I'm a big reader. Also, I like cooking desserts for my family. I'm very talented, by the way.
Ooh,
Making dessert?
what's your
Yes.
favorite? What do you like to make?
I like to make lemon pie, a strawberry shortcake, and all my family and people who know me say they are very tasty.
I bet. Oh,
I like,
yeah.
I enjoy making them in my free time. Also, as you were talking about exercise, I do Pilates at least twice a week because I believe that we as doctors, and not only doctors, but also people in healthcare, if we're going to tell our patients to move, to make exercise, we should also take care of ourselves and make exercise on our own. I like exercising, spending some time with friends, watching movies, spending time with my family on the weekends where I'm not on call. It's about trying to balance.
It sounds like, I think time management is one of the
TV.
skills, especially if you're in healthcare. Do you have anything, you said it took you a little bit to learn better time management. Can you talk a little bit about what you found that worked well for you to have the best time management possible?
I started implementing it very early because since last year in 2024, after I read Atomic Habits, I tried having my calendar, not Google Calendar, also a physical calendar on my wall, and putting all the tasks I have to make day by day. I have to go to the hospital. This day I'm going to buy stuff. This day I will go to exercise. This day I will prepare for next week. When you do and a schedule and put all the tasks you have to make and make a list, a to-do list, and you go and put a mark every time you complete one of those tasks, I believe you become more organized because you know and have a clear idea of what you have to do on the week and during the month.
I think, I struggle with that a little bit because my problem is when I get down and I'm writing everything down, I get a little overzealous. And I think like I have more time than I do. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna run at 7 a.m. for 5 miles and I'm gonna do this and this and this and this. And I set myself up kind of for failure. So I think it's really important to have a realistic idea of what you can actually
Of
accomplish,
what you are actually going to do.
not what you wish you could do. Can you drop your social media handle for everybody who's listening and watching who might want to come over, give you a follow?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram. It's DRA Daniela Coronado on Instagram. And also you can follow me on TikTok. I'm as Daniela Coronado C.
We'll link it down below in the description.
To anyone who's listening and are now med students or maybe nursing students, to trust in themselves, to believe in their knowledge, they are capable and they can make their dream of becoming a healthcare worker come true. Trust in yourself. I'm very grateful to having the opportunity to be talking today with you, Brooke, here on the podcast. Thanks for listening to me and getting to share it also with others.
Thank you so much for joining our Crafting Wellness podcast.